What a win. And we're going to go over all the horrific things from that game. So the fact that the defense is making it a sweat against Brandon Allen at home is not ideal. But just to go back to what we said off the top here, and then we'll take a slew of phone calls here, 651-646-8255. Last week, you checked a major box, road game, winning opponent, prime time. You checked the box. This week, I get that it was terrible. You fall down 20 points to a team you shouldn't be down by 20 points to, but Kirk Cousins puts the team on his back in the second half. I've been calling for this all season long. All season long. It's not too much to ask that when things are not going well, when your defense isn't playing well enough, when your offensive line's not playing well enough, and you fall behind, sometimes the guy that makes $27 million and the guy that plays the most important position in professional sports, which is football quarterback, sometimes that guy just has to say, screw it. I'm going to throw for 300-plus yards and a bunch of touchdowns. I'm going to find my best receiver down the field in Stephon Diggs. And Kirk Cousins, to his credit, did that in the second half today. 319 yards total, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Even though it wasn't as flawless as that stat line would suggest, Kirk Cousins deserves major props for his first ever fourth quarter comeback win as a Minnesota Viking. Manny Hill, let's get to the phone lines here. Let's go to Matt in Maplewood. You are on Vikings Vent Line. Fire away. Matt, you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Matt. You're first up, man.
Oh, first cut? Sweet. But wow. Absolutely wow. Did I just go through a roller coaster of emotions during that game?
Yes.
I literally turned the TV off and stormed back into my room after the first half. I could not take it. But wow, did the defense step up. Even though our secondary is, I almost want to say, as bad as the Eagles. Like that first half, oh my gosh. But Kirk Cousins, that's my guy. I believe in him now, I want to say. It was great win. I'm going to let you guys fire away. That was just awesome. I just want to give props to the Vikings for pulling up an upset like that. Also, I don't know if you guys saw it, but we're like the first team in like the last 5 seasons to win after like 20 plus point deficit after the half. That's kind of cool. So
it was.
I'll hang up and listen to you guys.
Matt and Maplewood, pure emotion from Matt and Maplewood there. And yeah, the number that they flashed on the screen, teams are in the last few years, teams are 0-99 when trailing by 20 points or more at halftime. And now teams are 1-99 when trailing by that many. Anton in Florida, you're on Vikings Vent Line.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good, man. What do you think?
Well, I got a few things. First of all, like the first half seemed like a complete meltdown to me, and I almost stopped watching at halftime, but I'm glad I definitely kept watching. I got 2 things really. I think Cousins really showed something today. This is really what we wanted to see from him. Like, they shut Cook down. He wasn't able to do anything. He was getting pressured all day, sacked 4 times, a bunch of pressure. And he really put it on himself. And he really, I thought, had a phenomenal game, especially in the second half. And the other thing I really wanted to mention was I really am not happy with either of our kick returners. Like, can we bring back Sherrills or something? Because Abdullah has this fumbling history that, you know, it just has me on pins and needles all season long, waiting for the fumble. And here it happened in a horrible time. And then Hughes, he just seems slow as a returner to me. Kind of, you know, I know he's not a slow person, but he seems slow returning the ball. And on top of that, I hate when he does the fair catches and then he still runs like 10 and 15 yards forward before catching the ball. You know, that's exactly what happened on the fumble. You know, Sherrill seems to get right under him and catch him. And that's pretty much what I had.
All right. Thank you for that phone call, Anton.
Marcus Sherrills will not be coming back here. He is a member of the Miami Dolphins right now.
Boy, he found a new gal, Marcus Sherrills. I love how like the Vikings broke up with Marcus Sherrills and he was still single a few weeks ago, and they're like, all right, let's try this again. But now he found a new gal. 4 total fumbles for the Vikings today, 2 by Mike Hughes and 1 by Amir Abdullah. Not ideal.
Yeah, that is something they're gonna have to clean up because, you know, you do that on the road in Seattle in 2 weeks, you're done. I mean, the break that the Vikings got today was that they were down big, but they were able to come back because Brandon Allen was the opposing quarterback. You can't fall down 20-0 in Seattle 2 weeks from now. No, if you do that in Seattle 2 weeks from now, you're done.
But that's sort of the beauty. I mean, saying the word beauty out loud when referring to this game is also feels a little bit dirty. But The Vikings, through mostly self-inflicted wounds, fell behind by 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Probably shouldn't have won the game. And the fact that they did win the game, and so no matter what, no matter how it looked, no matter how bad it was, they won the game, and they get 2 weeks plus a day, because it's a Monday night game, to prepare for Seattle, to maybe get Adam Thielen back in the mix. Now, Harrison Smith was ruled out with a hamstring injury today, so those are going to be things to evaluate. But this, in a lot of ways, this almost feels like a house money win just based on the way the first half played out, which sounds ridiculous because they were 10-point favorites going into the game. But let's go to Jeff in St. Louis Park. You're on Vikings Vent Line. Phil Mackey and Manny Hill.
Oh man, my hands are still trembling after that game. That was, when they were down 20-0, I was kind of like, okay, well, at least they're making this quick, like they'll be out of it. But then they had a great drive to open the second half, and yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the best comeback wins I've ever seen from the Vikings, who don't historically have a lot. I'm torn on how to look at it, because I agree with you, Phil. You could look at it in the positive and say, hey, this team really stepped up. I mean, every year it seems they have one of these games where, whether it was the Colts game in 2016, the Buffalo game last year, where they come off a big win on the road, they have maybe a big opponent looking ahead or a bye week, and they start to look ahead and they take a team for granted. And I was just like, God, it happened again. But to their credit, they said, no, we're not going to let that first half define us, and they rallied in the second half. On the other hand, thank God it was Brandon Allen, because if you're down 20-0, as you said, Manny, to Russell Wilson, I don't think you're coming back on him. I don't think Russell Wilson's only going to score 3 points in the second half.
Jeff, your hands are trembling, but do you think you could at least make it work to eat some popcorn? Because we want to make you
I mean, I'm not the biggest popcorn fan, but my girlfriend loves it.
Perfect. Because that makes you the popcorn call of the show, sponsored by Popcorn in Minnetonka. You can find them in the upper concourse of the stadium, section 325, at every Purple home game. Fresh popcorn available in 6 customer favorite flavors. Easy for me to say. So we're going to throw Jeff on hold there, and hopefully he can be boyfriend of the year, courtesy of Popcorn. Let's keep rolling with these phone calls here. Let's go to James in Apple Valley. Vikings win, and people are sweating, but the Vikings are going into the bye week with some nice momentum after that second half, fourth quarter comeback. Go ahead, James.
Hey, great comeback. I thought it was an impressive win. But for all the Kirk Cousins haters out there, look, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's a top 10 quarterback in this league right now. He's playing phenomenal. And what's sad to me is if the defense on one of those 3 plays down at the goal line there have allowed a TD to Brandon, what was his last name, Allen?
He's one of 19 different quarterbacks in the NFL with the last name Allen, yes.
The narrative would have been, well, Kirk Cousins scored too fast and didn't give the defense a rest. So I'm sick and tired of this Kirk Cousins bashing. He's proved everything he needs to prove. Is he a Hall of Fame talent? No. Does he not respond to pressure well? No. But you know his limitations, and it's on the offensive play callers to work around his limitations and get the production. Overall, a great win, but yeah, I think Vikings fans, I've heard it on this radio wave, they need to stop bashing Kirk Cousins. He is what he is, and he was pretty damn good today.
James, thank you for the phone call. Manny, do you think, just based on these last couple games in particular, last week against Dallas and then this fourth quarter comeback by Cousins, do you feel like he is starting to either prove people wrong or let's just frame it this way. Do you think he has reached a new level as a quarterback? And do you think he deserves for us to say, listen, he's just those criticisms should be behind him at this point?
No, I mean, listen, when Kirk Cousins plays well, we give him credit. When he plays poorly, we criticize him. That's how this works. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he's making $28 million a year on a fully guaranteed contract. He needs to play well in order for this team to get to where they need to be. And by the way, Kirk Cousins was brought in 2 years ago or 2 off seasons ago to help this team get over the hump of getting to the Super Bowl. That's why he was brought in here. So, I mean, listen, he played well in the second half today, and it's great. And that's what they needed him to do that in order for them to win. But every time, like this seems to be like a kind of a recurring thing, Phil, where every time Kirk Cousins plays well or puts up big numbers, we have to hear from everybody that says, well, all the Kirk haters. Now, nobody hates Kirk Cousins. Nobody hates Kirk Cousins. Listen, I'm 35 years old. You and I were about the same age. You're a year younger than me, but we're native Minnesotans. We've grown up cheering for this team, wanting this team to perform well. I want Kirk Cousins to perform well. He needs to perform well. I don't hate Kirk Cousins. I'm not rooting for Kirk Cousins to fail. I want him to perform well, because if he does not perform well, this team isn't going anywhere. He needs to perform well. And he needs to be held to a standard because of the position that he plays, the amount of money that he's making, and where this team is aspiring to go. He needs to play well. So when he doesn't play well, guess what? He's going to be criticized. And he should be. In the first half, look at what we talked about in the first half with him. They had a free play. The Broncos jump offside. They have a free play, and he dumps it off to C.J. Ham when his wide receiver, his number one wide receiver target, is streaking down the field, signaling, throw me the ball. We have a free play. That can't happen. Now, Kirk did a great job in the second half, bouncing back, performing much better, and he led them to a victory. My hat goes off to him. Great. Congratulations. It's exactly what they needed to happen, and it happened. But like this, there are still boxes that need to be checked with Kirk Cousins too. Like,
you like that? You like that?
Yeah. I mean, a game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's where you like that came from. And good for Kirk. I'm glad he did that today, because this team needed to win this game, because, Phil, if they would have lost this game today, I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
And you know
it would have
what?
been bad. Yes.
And you know what? If the Broncos would have scored there at the end of the game, you know who we'd be ripping right now? We'd be ripping the Vikings defense for letting Brandon Allen march down the field and score a game-winning touchdown. Nobody would have been ripping Kirk Cousins.
The Vikings defense deserves to be ripped anyways, win or lose after today. But to everything you're saying, I think it's fair to say the things that we've wanted more from Kirk Cousins they weren't just narratives or made-up criticisms. We wanted two things, okay? Because for his entire career, he's been fantasy stats quarterback guy.
Mm-hmm.
But when the actual chips are on the table against winning teams, his record's terrible. Primetime, his record's terrible. Obviously, defense and offensive line play calling, there's other factors that contribute. But you are the most influential figure on your football team, going back to Washington and here. Fourth quarter comebacks, chips on the table. 0 for whatever, 0 for 10 or 0 for 11 as a Viking until these last couple weeks. And this is where he deserves a ton of praise. And I saw the same things you did in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Him dumping off to C.J. Ham with a free play. Like, dude, you can't
Ridiculous.
do that. Last drive of the second quarter, all day to throw. Stephon Diggs wide open over the middle. He could step up. You could drive a truck through the area where he could have stepped up, and he takes a bad sack, right? Like, things like that drive you crazy. But
to his credit, he turned it around in the second half.
He did, and that's what I'm asking for. I'm not expecting perfect conditions all the time. I'm not expecting him to play perfectly all the time. What I am asking for is when there are more chips on the table against winning teams, when you're trailing in the fourth quarter, I need more. And he's given all of us more in the last couple weeks. 651-646-8255. It's Mackie, it's Manny, and this is Vikings Vent Line on Score North.